Yes, people, listen, I told you I'm going to be doing the roundups. So this is a roundup for this week in the Premier League, and a back-to-back video will be coming because I'm going to do world football as well. So I was away this weekend because I was doing some work with New Balance, and I was out in Italy. I actually went to Atalanta versus Como game, which was fun, man. I like the Atalanta Stadium. That was a good experience, my first time there. So yeah, man, this is a 5 things we learnt this weekend. Now, wow, where do I start? Do you know what? I'm going to start with Arsenal. One of the things that we learnt this weekend, for me, guys, is Arsenal are the strongest team in the league. I'm just going to start there. Arsenal are the strongest team in the league. I think when you're looking at them as a whole complete package, I think Arsenal are the most complete team in the Premier League at the moment. When you look at the depth that they have in their team, you look at players that are able to come in and come out. You think about Bukayo Saka was injured, Noni played, got some man of the match performances. You look at Saliba got out, Mosquera came in, got some man of the match performances. You look at the fact that Miles Lewis-Skelly, who was in contention for Young Player of the Year last year, doesn't even play right now because Calafiori is coming in and playing brilliantly. You think to yourself that Odegaard is injured and it hasn't really affected Arsenal in any way. You look to the fact that Moreno came off the bench against Newcastle and scored a winner. You look at the fact that Martinelli looks better coming off the bench. He scored 2 winners. You're looking at Arsenal as a whole complete package right now. And for me, they're the best team in the Premier League, right? And I had Liverpool to win the league. And I was like, but I'm not going to lie. I'm leaning much more towards Arsenal right now. Liverpool have also never done back-to-back, which is interesting. But it's early. It's early to be switching up. But I'm looking at Arsenal at their goal difference, plus 11. Scored the most goals other than Man City. And have conceded the least goals. They've only conceded 3 goals. And I think Haaland is the only one from open play. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just look at Arsenal. I think to myself, who's going to beat them? Now Liverpool beat them, but Liverpool are one of the best teams in the league. Who's going to beat them? They played Man United. They played Man United. They played Man City. They played Liverpool. The harder games are getting out of there. Now their run of games now for me are starting to reach the, would you say on paper, the easier phase. I think by December we could be talking about Arsenal being a few points clear at the top of the table. I really do. And you think to yourself, Zubimendi didn't start the other day, came on, made impact against West Ham. They actually improved when he came on and Odegaard went off. No diss to Odegaard. But remember the stages when Odegaard got injured last year and it looked like, wow, how are Arsenal going to cope with that? That's not an issue this year. That's not an issue. We're looking at an all-time potentially defense. A goalkeeper who's brilliant. I'm looking at Arsenal thinking, where's their one weakness? The only weakness I see in their team at the moment is Victor Gyökeres. I don't think Gyökeres is great. I don't think he's that good, to be honest, in general. But if he can get 15 Premier League goals, that's a good season. But that is what Kai Havertz got, and people said they need more. But you look at it and you think if he can offer about 15 Premier League goals, then fine. I think Arsenal are good enough to win despite Gyökeres not really being great. Honestly, I do. They're complete. They dominate every single game. They don't concede. There's not much that you can say that they haven't got at the moment. The only thing that, as I keep saying, like if something's going to hold them up, can it be Mikel Arteta? Who knows? Mikel Arteta maybe at some point overcomplicate it or be too pragmatic. That could come in. That could be a case. Who knows? But I'll be disappointed. I think Arsenal should be if they didn't win the league this year, there may be some insights need to be had. I don't know. I'm looking at them. 566 passes against West Ham. 68% possession. Now, West Ham ain't great at all. But West Ham combined for 0 XG against Arsenal. And so many teams, when you look at who plays against Arsenal, they combine for that. They be getting 0 point this XG. Bro, it's rock solid. Eze is only warming up. He hasn't even really... He's shown flashes, but he hasn't even really got going. This isn't Crystal Palace Eze yet. So he's still got some places to go. Saka still needs to get to 100% fitness. Declan Rice started the season okay, but he's growing into it now. Arsenal are looking like a problem. on all fronts, even in the Champions League, that is possible. But we're going to see, obviously, in the tougher games. But I think the Premier League, I'm looking at Arsenal as the team to beat, honestly, guys. I really am. Okay, let's move on to Liverpool. Liverpool. I don't even know where we start with this one, right? What did we learn in this Liverpool-Chelsea game? One thing we definitely learned is that it's not going to be a quick fix, in my opinion, for Liverpool. And really and truly, they need to get people up to speed quickly. Because you just heard me talk about Arsenal. You don't want Arsenal pulling away. You don't want Arsenal pulling away and their form goes crazy and Liverpool are playing chase. It's only 1 point right now. It's only 1 point right now. But when you're looking at Liverpool, I'm looking and I'm saying, is Onslaught at fault here? And I do think he is. I was speaking to Fuad on FCM, and Fuad said that, if every player isn't, like he said, like all the players that are not playing well this season, Szoboszlai is playing well, and maybe Gravenberch at certain stages. But for me, it's if every player is struggling, then that's a managerial issue. This is the year that Onslaught has basically said, I'm going to create my own team. I'm not going to rectify and make a few tweaks to what Klopp did. I'm going to make my own team. And so far, it is not working. It's not working. Liverpool couldn't keep the ball against Chelsea. They couldn't keep the ball. They got dominated in possession. They couldn't keep the ball. They really couldn't. You look at Kirkes, new signing. He's been poor. I'm sorry, he's been poor. Isak, poor so far. Of course, he's getting back to fitness. Ekitike's the only one. Frimpong, not been good enough so far. Florian Wirtz, not been good enough so far. So you're looking at it and you're thinking, those are your signings. I'm always somebody that judges managers on your signings. So far, Onslaught, your signings, you're not able to get the best out of them. You're not profiling Wirtz great. Isak's not got off the mark. Only Ekitike so far, and even then he's having to juggle around with Isak. Right now, I'll be saying, Ekitike, you're starting every single game. Isak, you're going to be the one coming off the bench and getting some fitness, and we'll see what happens with you. But I know, obviously, he spent a lot of money on him, but you got to think about the short-term results. We're going to talk about Mo Salah. He looks completely out of it. Now, Man United is coming. He's probably going to jump in good form, and all of a sudden he scores, and life is great. But Mo Salah right now looks completely out of it. Completely out of it. Now, I've never been a big fan of how Mo Salah plays the game, but I appreciate how efficient he is. But right now, with that efficiency gone, he's looking terrible at the moment. Terrible. And I'm not too sure what the difference is, because he's still playing on the halfway line. He's still playing ready for transition moments, but you're just looking at all of his actions at the moment. I saw him cutting at one stage. Cutting, and he took a shot and he was just leaning back. And I'm like, that's so unlike Mo Salah. So unlike Mo Salah. So when you're looking at what he's doing, you're still going to back him, though. You know what I mean? You still got to back him. New contract. Are people going to say it's the new contract syndrome? We saw it with Aubameyang. We saw it with Mesut Ozil. We've seen it with certain players, right? Even Rashford. So we're going to look at that situation carefully and closely. But I'm going to wait till after the Man United game, because that's always a stimmy pack. If he doesn't get a stimmy pack against Man United, then there's real insight to be looked into. Next, we're going to talk about, in the same game, Moises Caicedo. Now, I said on my Lavia speech on FCM, I said Lavia staying fit is such a key for Chelsea, because I think he's a top midfielder when fit, and him and Caicedo can form the best pivot in the Premier League, right? But when I look at Moises Caicedo, a lot of people compare him to Kante. A lot of people compare him to Makaleli because they, former Chelsea midfielders. But if I'm going to compare him to any Chelsea midfielder in that mode, it'll be Michael Essien. He's bullish like a Michael Essien. And they're not big in height, but they can get about, they can disrupt, and they can also play. If Michael Essien was able to stay fit his whole Chelsea career, we're looking at one of the all-time midfielders in the Premier League. Michael Essien, he was that good, but he just wasn't able to stay fit properly. And you look at Moises Caicedo, his influence in that team. You think about Cole Palmer as Chelsea's best player, or you think about Cole Palmer, when you think about Chelsea, you think about him. But when I'm looking at Caicedo and I'm saying, if you're going to talk about most important player, it's definitely him. His loss will impact Chelsea more than anybody else's. He's a leader in that team. He breaks up play. He disrupts. He's good on the half turn. His passing is sharp. He's got a banger on him. His influence is growing. And Gary Neville said he's the best midfielder in the Premier League. That's up for debate, 100%. That's up for debate. But one thing that cannot be denied is his influence in the team. This guy is a top player. And he's definitely one of the leading midfielders in the Premier League. And I don't think we needed this week to learn that. But it further established how good he is. You're looking at a Liverpool team that, in my opinion, he bossed. He bossed that midfield. And that was a real, yeah. He's been doing it for the last year anyway, you know? But that was a real, I'm up there. So shout out to Caicedo for that. Now, let's move on to, you know what? I'm going to move on to Erling Haaland. Now, I was speaking about Erling Haaland a little bit too much, so I'm not even going to wax... Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do Haaland because it goes without saying what he is. Let me not even speak about Haaland, right? One person I want to speak about is... Let me see, what's his first name? Is it Nick? Is his first name Nick? Or am I bugging? It is Nick Woltemade. I like this guy, guys. I like this player. Got aerial ability. Not afraid to mix it up with defenders. Got a beautiful touch for his height. Like, guys his height shouldn't have a touch this good. I look at Peter Crouch, who people only think about him being tall. But people don't think about how good Crouch was on the ball. That guy had a feather touch. He had a slick touch. And I look at Woltemade and I see that touch in him. I see that quality. He's got feet. He's got feet. He's a unique profile, guys. He's a very unique profile. Tall guy with a feather touch and an eye for goal. And his penalty the other day put that in the stench. He put that shit in the stench. Whoosh. Bins. That was a class penalty. And he's building himself up to be a new Newcastle cult hero, people. A cult hero. You know, Isak left. And I'm one of the people that even when Isak left, I said, look, they brought in Vissa, they brought in Woltemade. I don't think it's going to hit them that much. And a lot of people saying, oh, now without Isak, they're done. Not for me. I think Newcastle will still be very competitive. Now, they haven't started the season great. They're on 9 points. But I think Newcastle are going to start to pick up. I think they're going to start to go on a run as they do. It's very early in the season. And of course, they are having to deal with absence. They are having to deal with the player having to get up to speed with the Premier League. But I'm looking at him and I'm saying, listen, he's going to be in the discussion for one of the signings of the season. I'm a fan of this guy, man. And you know what? I love seeing players that I hadn't watched before. I only watched him in one game for the under-21s. So I wasn't familiar with him. I love learning about new players. And each week when I look at Woltemade, I'm like, okay, I'm seeing things that I like. I'm a fan of this guy. And lastly, guys, in the Premier League that we are going to talk about, let's have a look. Let's have a look at who we are going to talk about lastly. There's a lot that's gone on. As I said, we already spoke about Man City. Let's talk about, there's two actually. I'm going to give you 6 things. One is Everton. Guys, I had Everton as my surprise package this season. I said I think they can finish and push for 8th place. Right now, they are sitting in 8th place. They have started the season very well. Now, it hasn't been... Shut up. It hasn't been absolutely vintage in terms of... Not vintage, but it hasn't been like scintillating or anything like that. But Everton compete in every football match. And that's what I like about them. And that's what I like about David Moyes' teams in general, right? I'm looking at the stats right now. 51% possession against Palace. 433 passes, which are nearly even to Palace's one. Palace 432 passes. And I think when I look at what Everton are doing, it's typical of a David Moyes side. Destroyer, Idrissa Gueye. Ball playing midfielder, Ghana. Playmaking wingers in either Diblin, Grealish, Ndiaye's in the 10, but we started with Diblin, Ndiaye, and Grealish. This is the foundation of what Moyes has always had. You look at his teams when he had Pina, etc. on the left hand side, and Morales and whoever you want to talk about on the right hand side. This is a David Moyes side. Stiff, strong centre halves, honest fullbacks, profile, a destroyer, an 8, a 10, a wing. It's a very David Moyes side, and the strikers that are going to run their socks off and battle. That is a David Moyes team, and I'm looking at it, and you're looking at the continued influence of Jack Grealish. You're looking at the continued influence of Iliman Ndiaye. A lovely mid-table duo right there. And you're looking at Jack Grealish. He's now trying to knock on the door like, can I get back in the England team, boss? Can I get back in the England team? I'm so happy to see his development. Not even development. I'm so happy to see him settle at Everton. He's an absolute cult hero there. And Crystal Palace lost the game, which is the first time in 19 Premier League matches. So at the end of the day, it's nothing to make too much noise of. But that's a big, big win for Everton. Big win, because Crystal Palace ain't no mugs. Adam Wharton with another good game. I love this player. I can't believe he's not in the England team. But one thing that we did learn is that Everton are here to stay, people. Don't think about no relegation Everton like they have been in the last few years. That ain't such thing. That's not going to happen. Everton are here to stay. And I'm looking at Everton the next year or two as being a team that make massive strides as long as they keep David Moyes in charge. And finally, guys, we are going to talk about Manchester United. Manchester United, of course. Listen, only a 2-0 win versus Sunderland. Nothing to go too crazy over. In fact, I think the performance could have been better in the second half. But the first half performance, fair play to the boys. That was probably the best performance of the season so far. They were genuinely peppering the goalkeeper, genuinely dominating the ball, and genuinely looked like a fluid football club. So I've got to give credit to Manchester United for that. You know what I mean? But as I said, Liverpool is the game next. So if Liverpool is the game next, what are we going to do? We haven't had back-to-back wins under Amorim. We can't sit here and talk about, we're building, because we've never been able to build under him yet. But I wanted to give a shout to Mason Mount and obviously Sesko. One thing we're learning this week is that Sesko is starting to grow. And we got to give a shout to Lamens. Absolutely brilliant debut performance. Caught the ball, made saves, was playing the ball off both feet. Very, very impressive debut. However, there's going to be tougher tests in Sunderland at home. There's going to be tougher tests. Yes, Sunderland are above Man United in the table, but they came and didn't look like they believed in Manchester United, in winning the game. I don't know. First half just looked like they didn't believe it in themselves. Brilliant goal from Mason Mount. That touch and finish is class. And again, he's one of them players that he's played in this formation before, and he's somebody that when he's playing well, I genuinely think he makes Man United play well. Because he's somebody that just keeps things ticking. Great on the half turn. He plays very quickly. His link-up play is very good. And when he's on his best moments, he's got an eye for goal. But Cunha, one thing that we learned is that Cunha's going to have to battle now. Cunha and Mount are going to be battling for that position because we know Ruman really likes Mason Mount. Cunha's got a fight on his hands. This is another, I want to say it's another level because the Premier League doesn't show that, but Manchester United and Wolves is another level. He came on, made a few runs as he does, had a couple shots as he does, but he needs to not be so anxious. I feel like he's a little bit anxious because he wants to get off the mark so badly, but now he has got a fight on his hands. And lastly, I got to shout out Sesko on this point. Sesko steadily growing, steadily getting to cope with the physical demands, understanding how to shield the ball when he gets it. His link-up play is improving. He scored two scrappy goals, which I like. I call them strikers goals. 2 strikers goals. That's what you want from your number 9. So big shout out to Benjamin Sesko. Manchester United obviously win. And, you're looking at the Premier League all round this weekend, right? A few good results. You're looking at Aston Villa finally, maybe they can start picking up form. Marlon with 2 goals. You look at Spurs, they're trucking along. You know what I mean? Spurs are sitting 3rd. Spurs are 2 points off the top. What a start they've had under Thomas Frank. So, guys, That's how you know I love football too much. This video was meant to be a 5 things. 5 things about the Premier League this weekend, right? 5 things. But it's now stretched on to 7. Because lastly, guys, I cannot go without this video without talking about Antoine Semenyo. You're looking at players, guys, in the Premier League. There's always a player that says, I'm ready for a big club move. I'm ready to take the next step. There's always a player every single season. There could be multiple players. There could be like Eze, there was Cunha and Brumo, all these guys. Add Antoine Semenyo to that list. Antoine Semenyo has a real claim for being the best player outside the top 6 in the Premier League right now. Both feet, pace, power, dribbling ability, ball striking, general threat throughout a 90 minutes, transitions. The guy at the moment is in his flow state. Flow state. This is one of the most dangerous players in the Premier League at the moment. He can play right side. He can play left side. I even look at him and think he can do a job up front. This guy is an absolute problem at the moment. And he is number 1 at the moment for players who are ready for a big club move. I look at certain names. You look at like Adam Wharton, for example. I think he's right up there. But you look at Semenyo and he is kicking the door down. I look at Chelsea. They could do with Antoine Semenyo. Man United, we can do with Antoine Semenyo. Liverpool, City, Arsenal. What team can go without an Antoine Semenyo? Not many, in my opinion. The goal he scored this weekend was brilliant. Step overs. Go down the line. Bop. Finish. Quick. No wasting time. What development he has shown. Sign that deal, but I'm hoping there's a release clause in there. Just saying. Just saying, because he's too good to be playing for Bournemouth. No disrespect, because they're flying. No disrespect. But guys, like, share, subscribe, turn notifications on. It's your boy CultureCams. This is 7 things that we learned this weekend, even though it was meant to be 5. This is 7 things that we learned this weekend. Guys, like, share, subscribe, turn notifications on. It's your boy CultureCams. I'm out. Peace.